Hi, Felix. It's Gump. This week, I'm going to tell you the story of Prince. Well, everybody knows about Prince Charming. Prince Charming's in all the fairy tales. What they don't usually tell you is that Prince Charming's first name is Stinky. His name is Prince Stinky Charming. Prince Stinky Charming got that name because, well, he got it almost at birth. In fact, they called him Stinky for so long that nobody really remembers what his actual first name was. But from the very beginning, they knew he smelled funny. Now, when he was a baby, they thought maybe he'd grow out of it, but he never did. And he got older and older, and he was still stinky. They tried to cover it up by making up a story about how he'd been turned into a frog and then turned back into a prince, and all those years as a frog and made him kind of stink like swamp, but that was just a made-up story. Now, when he got a little older, he did get called on to help out in some other kingdoms. That's why Prince Charming turns up in both Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. There's both stories where supposedly the princess is asleep and the prince comes along and kisses them and wakes them up, which really, to go kiss a princess while she's asleep is kind of rude. But Prince Stinky Charming didn't actually kiss anybody. What happened was that they called on him to get in there, and when he got in close enough to the sleeping princess, he was just so stinky that they woke up. So it wasn't a very nice thing to be popular for, but there it was. He got called on to wake up sleeping princesses because he was like so stinky. There is a happy ending for Prince Stinky Charming. In the story of Cinderella, you remember Prince Charming was involved in that one too, and Cinderella had lived her whole life being a scullery maid and just cleaning up around the house and taking out the garbage and just waiting hand and foot on her stepsister and stepmother. And she finally got a chance to go to the ball because Stinky Charming's parents decided if they were ever going to get him married off, they were going to have to throw a party and see if they could get every eligible woman to come, and maybe somebody would be able to stay close enough to him that she could work out as a wife for him in the future. So Cinderella managed to get herself invited to that, and she went to the ball, and she danced and danced and danced with Prince Charming. Not just because he was a nice guy, although he was. I mean, he was a pretty humble and decent guy and fun to get along with, but none of the other princesses could dance with him for more than a minute or two because he was so stinky. But Cinderella had spent her whole life cleaning up all the garbage and taking out the garbage and cleaning the dirtiest parts of her stepmother's house. So her nose was pretty much shot. She couldn't smell that Prince Stinky Charming was stinky. She just saw that he was handsome and he was pleasant and he was nice and he was fun to talk to and he was a prince. So they danced and danced all night, and of course she had to leave at midnight and went running out at the last second, and left her glass slipper behind, which was the story that everybody hears. But Prince Stinky Charming didn't really need to find a girl who fit the glass slipper. Matter of fact, she had pretty common-sized feet, and lots of folks' feet fit in the slipper. He just needed to find the woman who could be close enough to him, long enough for him to put the slipper on her foot. So once Cinderella did that, and of course he got to look at her face, and they danced for hours. So the idea that he wouldn't recognize her when he saw her is kind of ridiculous. He did. So she didn't mind the fact that he was stinky, and he certainly didn't mind the fact that she'd been a maid for all those years. So they got married and lived happily ever after, and I'm happy to report that their children all smelled normal. And that is the story of Prince Stinky Charming. I will see you again next week.